So when the reason why I sort of like to interview different people and different types of people is this reason, like this sole reason, because I'll be very honest, like me, I'm different to how you would think. Like you said, like some just don't think too deeply into something. I think like in every situation and scenario, like I dive into that
Yeah.
exact situation. So I think it's that's why this is why I want to do this, because grabbing insights from you and grabbing insights from Ikra that I've interviewed, grabbing insights from Clinton and Moaz, grabbing insights from everyone that I will interview is it's important, because there's going to be people like you that that are very active, and they don't stick to one thing. They touch upon loads of different things, and then there's me where I can't do the doing 6 7 different things or trying to go into different avenues. I like to have one thing that I'm doing, one specific thing, and that's just I just stick by it and just be sort of master at that, try do that. And that's what's interesting, like how do you, because I know you're big on reflection. Tell us a bit
Mhm.
about that. Tell us a bit about how it plays a role into what you do into your life and into how you sort of think.
Um, Reflecting can go both ways. So it can either go down the route of I'm overthinking every scenario and probably beating myself up about how I could have dealt with something better.
Yeah.
Or it's more of like I need to reflect so I can reset myself for the next day or the next week or the next month.
Mm,
And I use it just to keep me grounded because I'm I feel like my mind is like running at 100 miles per hour, and then that shows through my work sometimes. And what happens, and it's something that I need to work on at the moment, is that I will keep going and going and going, and I won't stop until I actually experience a physical burnout where I feel mentally blocked, I'm physically exhausted, and that's when it's like, okay, I actually have to stop because my body is literally
telling you.
angry at me right now. Like it's literally telling me to stop. And that's when do the reflection. But I have been tackling that where I assess myself like every Sundays. So in a few hours' time, I will sit. I have my little whiteboard, which keeps me in check with like daily tasks, just so I can stay focused. And then I sort of reflect at the end of the week, just so I can see how the week went, what went well, what didn't go well, what's worrying me, what's making me feel good. And then I use that to like help me reset for the upcoming week. So
Mm,
that's how I like to use reflection. I see reflection as like a consistent thing. I don't like to wait until everything's crashing down on me, or at least like that's what I've been working on because I realize like when I wait for things to go wrong, that's when I used to do the reflecting, whereas now I want to use it as like part of my daily routine or weekly routine.
just
So
to
I
get
don't have
better.
to wait for things to go wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want things to pile up and then do the reflecting. I sort of want to constantly reflect, even if everything's going to plan, it's still good to reflect just to see where you are and just to see if there's anything that's like
Mm,
confusing you or whatever. That's how I sort of use reflecting for myself. It just keeps me grounded, and sometimes like I can get a bit carried away and I can get lost in all of the work, and I feel like I'm all over the place. And that's like the reflecting is sort of like a checkpoint for me, just to go back to a moment in time where my head was clear and I was genuinely reflecting on things. And I like to go back into that space just so I can, yeah, reset myself and be like, okay, calm down, there's loads of things happening at once. What do you need to get out of this? And
mm.
then I just go from there. So that's what I use reflecting for personally.
Um, yeah, that's I think a lot of people will look at it and think, yeah, that's a good way for that's a good way for you to sort of look back at yourself and just constantly want to get better and
Yeah.
improve.
I have a very chaotic brain. So like my mind sometimes like my mind processes things a lot faster than when I'm speaking or when I'm doing something,
Yeah.
and trying to find a balance between that, it is a challenge. Like there are times where I find myself all over the place. So a lot of the ways I've learned to manage that is to deal with that chaos, like
Mm,
making sense of all of that. Because I feel like I just want to do a million and one things, but I also don't want to do anything. And it's like, how do I find the balance between that? Because I need to do something.
yeah.
So yeah, a lot of my methods are based around like how my brain processes things and how I just do work in general. So yeah.
Tell me, tell me a bit about. So you mentioned obviously you didn't go uni. Tell me a bit about that. So tell us about the experience. How did that go with your parents? Um,
Oh no.
was it a smooth, was it a smooth process, or was it was a hectic one and it took some convincing? And also, you've moved out, haven't you?
Yeah.
So how did that go as well? Add that to
Well, neither of those were a smooth transition. Um, it was very hectic. And I think when you're the eldest as well, there's even extra pressure because you're
that.
like their first child, so they don't know how you're going to turn out. So there's extra scrutiny, everything's managed a bit more towards you, etc., and there's more responsibility. I think my parents were a lot more confused rather than like annoyed or anything because I was a very academic child. So it was like, how did you work so hard and get these grades? And then you're now telling me that you don't want to go to uni. So they were more confused, if anything. So I think my task was to like make sense of what was going on in their head, which
Mm.
is quite hard because I was still trying to figure things out. So it's quite hard to convince parents that you know what you're doing when you low-key don't yourself
Mm.
because you're sort of like winging it, and you're hoping that it works out.
Mm.
So that was interesting. I think the biggest part in both like not going to uni and then moving out, is just showing them like, look, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm sorry, I'm not asking for permission. I'm just telling you how it is, and then just doing it. That's sort of how I did it. And then once they see like you're consistently working towards something, and they're seeing like actually you're putting in
Mm.
the work,
Mm.
my parents just kind of left me alone at that
Yeah.
point. Um, Even when it got to when I moved out, like, of course they were shocked because of how I did it. I sort of just went, yep, I've done this, I've done that, and I'm moving out. It wasn't a case of, hey, I'm thinking about this, I'm not too sure, I'm gonna try and convince you. It's more of like, there's something that I want to pursue. If it doesn't work out, worst case scenario, I move back, right? It's not the end of the world. Um, and I think by that point, they had already seen how I've established myself as a
Mm.
person. I just, once I've set my mind to something, I'm going to go for it. So there's no point really trying to go back and forth because I'll take in the feedback, see what I can use and learn from, but I'm still going to go for it. So I think that was like a difference between when I said I wasn't going to uni versus when I moved out. Both were chaotic, but they were chaotic for very different reasons.
Mm.
Like not going to uni, it was more of like confusion because it's like, oh, if you'd done your A levels, you got your grades, why are you not going to uni? That's all they knew. Like, because with parents, like they've moved into this country, they see as like getting a degree as the only way to be successful.
Yeah.
And so I had to like explain my thought process, and it was just, whether they agree or not, I'm still doing it. So I just had to go for it and just hope for the best. But
Mm.
the difference with moving out is like at that point, I was closer to knowing where I wanted to sort of go. And I was a bit more aware of myself because
Mm.
I've experienced enough to be like, okay, this is what I need to avoid. This is what I need to do more. Um, and I was presented with a situation, an opportunity where it's like, this actually is promising for me, like for a number of reasons, career wise, personal development wise, financially, and so I was in a better position to like just do it.
Mm.
And I think my parents knew that. So as pissed off as they were with how I moved out, they sort of got around it because they knew ultimately that I always find a way to stay on my feet. And that came from years of constantly pushing back and be like, no, I'm gonna stay consistent. I'm gonna keep chasing my goals. Um, and I think by the time it got to the moving out situation, that's what they saw me as. So it's like, we're not happy with it. We're not happy with how you did it, but we're going to leave you to it. Let's see how it goes.
Mm.
And then now they're just cool with it. And they're pretty happy with how I am. So yeah, that both were chaotic, but different reasons. And I think because I was at different stages in my life. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Last little bit. There's a I'm getting a sense that you just don't care if you fail. And there's
Oh,
no there, there's for me it looks like that. But you can tell me obviously whether there is some sort of fear. But for me, the reason why I say that is because for me to pursue something, I would have to be like 100% convinced. Otherwise, I'm not doing it. Like, I have to
Mm.
like it. I have to understand that there's something gonna come out of it. Like, there's a lot of steps before I say, okay, cool, yeah, that's it. Whereas I feel like you see you like it and there's prospect there. Let me go try it. If it doesn't work out, I can find something else. Is that how it is, or
It's a
is
bit of
there?
both. So I do like assess all the situations, all potential outcomes,
Mm,
and that does lead me to overthinking a bit. But then it gets to a point where I get so frustrated and I just want to see it. Like I just want to try it.
yeah,
Um, and I think that it shows more now in comparison to if you had met me a few years ago, where I was a bit more hesitant.
yeah,
But I think my situation just pushed me to just try it because it did get to a point where it's like I can't keep stopping and starting and being hesitant
yeah,
because it's going to hinder my growth and it's going to hinder me in terms of like career
yeah.
opportunities. It's going to hinder me like my personal development, my financial opportunities. So there has to be some element of risk.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the older I've gotten, the more structured it has been. So
Yeah,
like I'll still take risks, but they're a bit more calculated. Whereas before it's like I have nothing to lose. I don't have a degree, so I either go for it or I don't.
mm,
Yeah. Whereas now it's like, okay, I still don't have a degree, but I've got a reputation and I've built a reputation over the few years and I've built a set
mm,
of experiences and I've got certain connections. So it doesn't feel as chaotic or as much of like, oh my gosh, this is a huge risk. There's still the risk, but I feel like I've got more of a softer landing if things do go wrong.
yeah,
So like in my situation now, like um, I'm trying to transition into another role. If I do like 100 interviews and don't get any of them, it's like, okay, that's a flop. But my safety net is that I've still got my current job. If say for example I don't know, God forbid, like I can't afford to live here anymore,
mm,
worst case scenario I move back to my parents, and that's a very different situation to be in comparison to, oh, I'm 18, fresh out of A levels, I need to find a job so I can pay my bills, and if not, there's letters being sent to the house. That's
mm,
a very different scenario and very different set of fears, um, and worries in comparison to now, even though like it's a similar sort of risk. Like you're still risking an
mm,
opportunity, but there's different things I'm falling back on. So I think I've sort of become more reserved, but also like more just out there because now it's like I've set the foundation for myself. So my worst case scenarios at 22 is very different to my worst case scenarios back when I was 18. So
mm,
it gives me that extra confidence, like, okay, I've got enough connections where I can have a plan B to Z in comparison to just a plan A and B maybe.
yeah,
And I think that's why it might come across like I just don't care, I'm just going to do it. That comes with experience and that comes with time and that comes with um, learning from people as you go along. And I think that will continue to go that way. I think that applies to anyone in general. It's like the first time you ride a bike, you're scared because you've never ridden a bike and you'll fall off. However, if you have been riding a bike for 2 years and you've got like an injury, or your knee's just sore or something, you're still worried about the risk, but you're not worried about the risk of falling off your bike because you don't know how to ride a bike. You're more concerned because you've got a little bit of a tear and wear on your knee, right? So
mm,
it's a different set of risk and a different set of falling of what you're going to be falling back on.
mm,
So that's how I sort of see it. I feel more of a go-getter now because there are some things in place as my backup plan, which puts me in a better position than when I was 18 and I was sort of like going head in, always nervous, always stressed, always sad, like while trying to pursue my goals. Whereas now it's like, okay, I've learned enough, I've made enough mistakes, I've taken enough L's to know what I need to fall back on and to know that there is also reward in taking some chances. So
mm.
I think that's why I say it's a bit of both. I think it's definitely dependent on your situation.
Yeah. The reason why I asked is because different reasons. So it's like because I said fear of failure because people aren't really scared of the failure. They're more scared of the judgment that might come from the failure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Has that ever been an issue, or were
Oh
you
yeah.
like, or it has? Tell us a
Even
bit
to this
about that.
day, yeah. And I
Tell us
think
it.
that's a similar progression as well with the fear of failure because
Mm,
when you're fearing failing at 18, where you've just told your parents that you're not going to uni, in comparison to now, where if I was to fail now, it's like, okay, I'm moving back. there's different options I can assess and I've got enough connections,
Mm.
it's the same, it's a similar thing. Like when you're younger, especially, or even if you just don't know what you want to do with your life, a lot of that fear comes from what is so and so gonna say, or why am I so behind everyone else? Why has everyone else got their life together and I don't know what I'm doing? So, and I think that fear is very valid, it's very human. And I think it changes with time depending on where you are in your life and what you're most concerned about. So, like, person A could be concerned about not having enough money at the end of the month to pay their bills, whereas person B might be concerned about not making enough progression and not getting that promotion. There's still fears of judgment, but they're in different environments.
Mm.
So, being judged in person A would be like, oh, you can't pay your bills, bailiffs are chasing you down, you're a failure, you can't even do the basic minimum to pay your bills, right? That's one
Yeah.
set of judgment. Whereas if you're just focusing on like getting that promotion to develop your career, it's like you don't get that promotion and it's more you judging yourself, thinking, oh, maybe I'm not good enough to get that pay rise or promotion. Not so much in the same way as, oh, I can't even do a basic thing and I'm going to kick down my own house and I can't pay bills and whatnot. So I think with things like failure, judgment, imposter syndrome, whatever it is, it really does depend on your situation. That's why like I try not to like judge everyone the same way, because
Mm.
everyone's going through their thing and everyone's situation is different and their environment is different. And I think that plays into effect how you react to fear of failure and how you react to judgment. Because like with now, it's like I don't care as much about judgment because of how I've established myself and the things I already have achieved. So
Mm.
if I do fail in something, I know what I need to do internally to bounce back and prepare myself for my backup plan or whatever it is. Whereas 18-year-old me, if I was to fail at that point, I felt like the whole world was crashing on me because I just
Mm.
felt like, oh wow, did I make a mistake not going to university? What was everyone else around me right? Like my friends are all studying and I'm here left behind. Completely different headspace, completely different time, completely different situation. Um, but I feel like no matter how successful or how sure you are of yourself, there's always going to be that element of, oh, I'm scared that this won't work out, or you know,
Mm.
what happens if I don't do this? I feel like people are going to judge me or make me feel like I'm a fraud or something. Whatever it is, I feel like that feeling never really goes away. You just have to get better at managing it. That's
Yeah.
just personally how I see it.
Nah, I think that sort of hits exactly what I'm trying to do on this platform in terms of
Yeah.
these things. It's we need to address because I feel like
Hmm.
a lot of us don't even know what this is, what fear of failure looks like, or
Yeah.
how self-awareness takes place or how reflection takes place. Like you said, reflect. You reflect every Sunday, is it?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's a
And that's something
constant.
I developed a habit
Yeah,
of. It wasn't something
yeah,
I was born with or
and
did
that
from the jump.
came,
Nobody
yeah,
told me.
that came
Yeah.
with education. It came with experience. It came with observation. So I think with the information that you've got in front of you, try and make it best of what's in front of you. And
Yeah.
if
and,
nothing
and
happens,
that's
then
partly why I set like and that's partly why how I've grown my audience online. Like I'm
mm,
very transparent about a lot of things. um Partly because when I was figuring all of this out, there weren't a lot of people telling me, hey, like maybe don't take that opportunity because it might backfire on you later on, or maybe approach this way or deal with
mm,
the situation that way. Like a lot of young people aren't given that guidance. I wasn't. I had to sort of wing it for the most part
yeah,
and just make sense of things. And I feel like if I hadn't done that, I don't know what situation I'd be in right now. So that's where the whole like passing things down and sharing what that's sort of what influences me as well.
mm,
And that's sort of why I set up this channel. It was just more of like a convenient way to get that information across. Like when I talk about my uni journey, my tech journey, life updates, I try to be transparent. I don't want to sugarcoat things because that's not how I got to where I am now, and I'm still not even where I probably want to be at the moment. And I think as a community, we do have a responsibility towards each other to be open
mm,
and transparent about certain things, because especially the climate we're in right now, a lot of young people's futures are very uncertain, and it's not actually their fault. It's just the way the world is right now. Like there's just so many things we don't know. And I think it's very normal to be in your 20s, to be in your teens, whatever age actually, to feel like you don't know where things are going. I think what's important is being equipped with the tools to be able to figure out, okay, I don't know what I'm doing in my life right now. How can I work through that? How can I work around that? What do I need to do? And I think that's what's missing amongst young people. And that's sort of like what I'm pushing towards. Like, I want to share what I've experienced and how I've managed to deal with certain situations so that someone else might not have to make the same mistakes as me.
Mm,
If it saves some person like a year of not taking loads of L's because of something I might have explained in a video or something, then I feel good about that because I've just saved someone 1 year of stress. The same way, like, I've had people along the way in different industries who have given me advice that probably saved me like 5, 6 years of doing something that I don't need to do.
mm,
So that's sort of like how I process things, and that's sort of why like I've developed this like sense of confidence where it's like, I'm just gonna go for it. If it doesn't work out, I'll deal with what the situation brings me.
mm.
And I sort of like want to inform more younger people about things like that. And I think that's missing at the moment in a lot of spaces where, we're just telling loads of young people, just work hard, aim high, put your mind
That's
to it.
true.
But it's like, what
They don't
about
know why.
yeah, what about the in between? Like, what about the scenarios that you're put in as a young adult where you don't know
Mm,
where to go? Like, who's going to help them with that?
yeah,
So that's sort of like what motivates my platform and what I do and how I
that's true.
carry myself. But yeah,
Amazing stuff. I appreciate your time, and I thank you
thank you.
for telling us about your experiences and being honest and open with us. I think a lot of people are going to take a lot from this video, which I'm happy about. So thank you again. That's it from us. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Hope you guys have learned a bit about Amina and her thoughts and her ways of doing things. If you guys have got any questions, any thoughts, any comments, make sure to hit up our social medias and comment down below on the video. But that's it from me. I feel like you said your piece already, Amina. But
Yeah.
you got any advice? Any last
Um,
words? Or nah?
I think whatever situation you're in, like, you know, assess the cards you've been given, deal
Mm,
with it how you've got, and ask questions. Ask people that might know what to do.
mm,
I also like have loads of resources, like practical things for people to use, which I think you probably link down in the box below anyway. So
mm,
feel free to check out some of the work that I do outside of just making YouTube videos.
yeah,
And yeah, like ask the community, like people are willing to help. Like I'm
yeah.
willing to help where I can and where I know things. So yeah, that's all I've got to say really.
Thank you so much, Amina, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, Amina. Wow. What a video. I always get gassed. Always. After every video, I get gassed because people actually come in and speak sense. So thank you. Thank you for today.
Oh, thank you for having
Um,
me.